I think we are slowly getting some draw finally going on. So we've just seen there Brazil. We've spoken about them earlier in the show. Brazil going in to Group C. We'll be crossing to Emily in a bit. I think we can cross to Emily now. Actually, we've got the first few teams coming up in that draw there.
Yeah, well, Brazil finally showing up on this rather empty board for the time being here in Group C. They're the only team that have qualified for every single World Cup, all 22 of them. So hopefully they'll be able to be more successful. Germany now in Group E. They've won the World Cup 4 times. The last 2 campaigns, they didn't get past the group stage. They're up there in Group E. Now we'll just have to wait for them. Obviously not much jeopardy until we can get the teams from pots 2, 3 and 4 to get the final picture, but they're finally trickling in now as they're being announced by the stars.
Well, yeah, after a very long delay, it's actually going quite quickly now. The Netherlands there in Group F, Belgium next to be taken out of that draw there. So obviously we're getting all the pot 1 teams placed first. It will be interesting to see. Obviously we always look out for a group of death, don't we, in this competition, which could of course be the potential group, as we touched on I think earlier in the show. Obviously Italy yet to have qualified. They'll be in pot 4, which seems crazy. So I think maybe potentially wherever, if Italy, of course, get through the European playoffs, because they really want to avoid, this will be a third successive World Cup if they don't, which seems mad when you think of their history in the competition. But we'd probably expect wherever the Italians end up would be a group of death. Could we see more than one group of death? The fact that we have 12 groups this time round, potentially. Spain going in to Group H there, Emily?
Yeah, so we've got the Netherlands in Group F. They've lost 3 finals, but have never won the title themselves. So hopefully they can redeem themselves. Belgium in Group H, and 2010 winners Spain. 2010 winners Spain in Group H, and Belgium there in Group G. I think there are more trickling in as we get finished with pot 1, but that's how it looks for the time being.
Well, that's how it looks for the time being. Slowly but surely we are getting those teams coming through. We were talking about South America before that draw. There we go, Argentina in Group J. Still yet to really get a real picture of those groups there. But talking about someone, what would be an ideal route for... there's no ideal route for this World Cup, but there we go. Didier Deschamps, highly anticipated. We don't have France yet in that group. Group I, there we go. Yeah. France are in Group I. Obviously, we don't have any second teams in those groups yet, so can't quite get an idea yet of...
But that's part of what Emily said at the beginning of the show, which means that for the 4 better team at the FIFA rankings of France, Spain, Argentina, and
England.
So Spain, Argentina, France, and England. Thank you.
Don't forget the English.
Don't forget England, especially with you. But yeah, so they have to be put into a group which will allow them not to face each other up to the semi-final at least. And that's very important. That's why we see, for example, Argentina in Group J and then France to the Group I, for example, because it's not like group by group when they pick up the balls with the pot 1 teams.
And there we go. I think we have now all the pot 1 teams in a group. Can you just run through the latest arrivals, Emily? They're not quite there on the screens yet. There we go.
They're slowly trickling in, but obviously this is also the moment for the pot 2 and 3 and 4 teams to be crossing their fingers for the teams that they most want to play against. So, I mean, if I was picking a pot, I would be a group, I would be looking for Group B and Canada, which statistically is the lowest ranked team. Obviously, now all eyes are on the 2nd and 3rd and 4th later pots as they appear. England, they're the final team from pot 1 to make this list, and we have the complete groups here from A to L. This is what it's looking like, and now they're going to be moving on to pot 2 for the next ranked teams in order to start filling out. This is where it gets complicated, where all those rules that I was talking about earlier come into play, and where the FIFA bots will be hopefully helping to make sure that all of those rules are respected. So 1 team from each federation in each group, apart from from UEFA, which can have up to 2 because they have 16 teams taking part in the competition. And as Karim was speaking about earlier, the separate routes to the finals for the top 4 ranked teams.
So there we go. Yep, we've got one team in each group there. Mexico in Group A, Canada in Group B, Brazil in Group C, US in Group D, Germany in Group E, the Netherlands in Group F, Belgium in Group G. Where was I? So many groups. Spain in Group H, France in Group I, Argentina in Group J, Portugal in Group K, and England finishing off there in Group L. We're just getting started now with pot 2. As Emily said, I mean, are there some more favourable groups, potentially the groups with the hosts?
Yeah, and I think for the major teams, so for the pot 1 teams, they would like to avoid either Morocco, Senegal, or Colombia. These are the 3 best teams, in my opinion, into the pot 2, which will be...
Don't forget Japan.
Oh, yes, we haven't spoken about Japan because they had a very interesting World Cup campaign in 2022. A lot of neutral fans, that definitely was one of my favourite teams at the World Cup. They beat Spain and Germany, so definitely not someone to be underestimated.
Yeah, clearly. But yeah, those 4 teams, I will include Japan. I agree with you, ladies. There will be the team to avoid for the pot 1 teams. And you talk about the group of death. I think that the group of death will be with one of those 4 teams.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see where those teams land. Obviously, some big teams are yet to be drawn in their groups. We've obviously already spoken about a fair few of those teams in pot 2. Some other teams that are among pot 2 that will be drawn shortly. Well, there's Uruguay, maybe not a team we speak about so much when it comes to the World Cup, but they are 2-time winners. They won back in 1930 and 1950. More recently, their best result, 4th place at the 2010 World Cup. Maybe another South American team to take note of. We've also got Switzerland, another team maybe that we don't often speak about much, but I think we can just cross to Emily because she's got something to tell us.
Yeah, I was just celebrating the mention of Switzerland.
I was thinking you're flailing your arms. I was wondering maybe, actually, sure we can let the resident Swisser have a say on her national team.
Yeah, well, coached by Murat Yakin, captained by Granit Xhaka, who's having an amazing season in the Premier League. I mean, you know, Switzerland, we're a little country, only 8 million of us, but I don't think we should be underestimated too much. We made it to the quarterfinals once before, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we end up in a nice enough group and that we can maybe have some quite nice chances going into the knockoff stages.
We've got that pot 2 slowly getting underway. Switzerland, who will be maybe hoping to get better than the last 16, which is when they were knocked out in 2022. There we've got South Korea, a team we've yet to have mentioned, who has just been drawn there. They will be... can't quite see which group they have landed in next, but we'll have to wait for that one. I think the computers are working their magic because obviously it's quite complicated with all these restrictions. But South Korea alongside Mexico there. So South Korea in the World Cup, and they'll be hoping to advance from the group stage for the first time in 12 years. They've changed coaches twice since the last cup draw. I think we can maybe hand over to Emily as these second teams are starting to come through in their groups.
Yeah, of course. Well, South Korea joining Mexico there in Group A. Now, they're one of the only Asian teams to have reached a semi-final, so they've got a lot of potential. Switzerland, there we go, my home team, landing in Group B. I couldn't have hoped for any better. That's great. Also, Canadian-Swiss is always a great match to see, so they'll be hoping for a first-place finish, depending on the teams from pots 3 and 4. And that's all we've got so far, I think, on this board.
For now, I think I've just seen Morocco drawn out, but it's taking a while, I think, for the computer to find where there's a spot for them, because obviously there's quite a lot of restrictions and constraints regarding this World Cup draw. Wow.
Morocco.
So that could be a group of death. There we go. We've just seen Morocco drawn into a Group C with Brazil. Wow. what a group that will be.
Yeah. What a great matchup to follow. And we have to remember that for the last World Cup, Morocco was in the tricky group with Belgium, with Croatia.
And they did so well.
Yes, and they did well. And that's why we were surprised to see Morocco going so far, because when we saw the draw for the previous World Cup, like, oh, it's going to be tricky for them. And at the end, they went up to the semifinals. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see that opposition versus Brazil. And that's why Brazil decided to play their friendlies of November against African team, because usually they play in South America with South American opponents, and international windows are more and more rare now because of longer competitions. The UEFA Champions League, for example, is longer. So, yeah, that's what they wanted to get some tests versus Tunisia. And when we see the draw with Morocco, that was a good choice by Carlo Ancelotti and Brazil.
Yeah, we'll have to. That is definitely a group to watch out for. That group C. I think we can just cross back to Emily, because we've got the second team in Group D.
Yeah, Australia, also known as the Socceroos, apparently they'll be facing off with hosts America. So that's going to be obviously games full of a lot of crowds and a lot of ambiance. It's their 7th appearance in a World Cup and their 6th consecutive qualification. They'll be hoping to get a few points up on the board there in Group D.
Yeah, the Australians, who also call football soccer down under, as you said there, Emily, their 6th successive World Cup. They got to last 16 in 2022, but I think we're just seeing some other teams drawn now. Germany, Ecuador in Group E. That's quite an interesting one as well. A 5th successive World Cup for Ecuador. Their best result at the last 16 back in 2006. They'll be led by the likes of Moise Caicedo, their star player who plays his club football in Chelsea. And we've got the Netherlands, who are in Group F with Japan. And we're just about to see who will go alongside Belgium in Group G. That's Iran. So we can already see there's by quite some way, Group C is definitely the toughest group so far. Other than that, what could we potentially see as being a
Uruguay
going into...
Are they going into the Group H? We'll see with the computer, but it should be in Group H if there's no restriction on that, because as we talked earlier, there are many restrictions, and yes, that's the case.
Yep.
So Uruguay will play against Spain. So a Spanish language matchup, and we have a French-speaking matchup between Canada and Switzerland.
There we go. I think we're going to find out now potentially who could be going into Group I with France if all the rules allow them to do so.
Ooh,
yeah. Interesting one. That's going to be another group to watch out for then.
And when we see Senegal and France, I'm just waiting for confirmation of that, as we see
working its magic there. But we'd assume that there's no problem with the two being in the same group.
Yeah, it's going to be the case. And we all remember what happened.
There's some history there, isn't there, Karim?
We all remember what happened in 2002. France were the world champion. France was the world champion at that time. Opening matchup in South Korea and Japan against Senegal, and that was such a surprise to see Senegal winning with Papa Bouba Diop, the late Papa Bouba Diop. That was the start of a great journey for Senegal and Bruno Metsu, who was the coach at that time, the late Bruno Metsu as well. And they went up to the quarterfinals of that World Cup. That was their first participation into the major tournament on earth. So yeah, France versus Senegal, we are definitely eager for that. And I imagine the reaction of Senegalese fans right now. They are going to be mad to imagine that.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a matchup, isn't it, there? We've just got into Group J, Austria alongside Argentina. And Colombia's just been drawn there. We would imagine that they can slot into Group K alongside Portugal, which means that Croatia would... be alongside England in Group L, because obviously UEFA teams can have two teams in each of those group stages.
I think we didn't speak about Austria being participants for the first time in 26 or 28 years.
Right.
They are a side to look out for, I think, even with what they're carrying in terms of experience, in terms of the selections. So I don't think we should sleep on Austria. They've got a lot to prove. So in that same group with Argentina, I think that's also a group that we can definitely look out for. Group J.
For sure. Yep, some of those groups definitely looking like very interesting battles that will be going on in those group stages. So Group L, and there we go. Yep, it will be England, Croatia. That is a pretty tough opponent for the Three Lions, Emily.
Yeah, well, of course, it also means that no other European teams can get into Group L. Portugal and Colombia in Group K, Argentina, Austria in Group J, Senegal and France, as you were talking about, in Group I, Uruguay and Spain in Group H. Now, Uruguay were actually the first hosts and first winners of the very first World Cup in 1930, the 100 years anniversary coming up pretty soon. Iran and Belgium in Group G. Japan is quite interesting. They have a huge depth of squad. They've used 65 players in only 13 games in 2025, so a lot of rotation. I mean, rotation doesn't even really cover it. Ecuador and Germany in Group E, Australia and USA in Group D, Morocco and Brazil, looking like a potential group of death in Group C there. Switzerland and Canada in Group B, and South Korea and Mexico in Group A.